Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. So we're going to do the ENSO update for June 2018 for today's second video. Every month we have a look to see what's happening in the Pacific Ocean in terms of ENSO, sort of El Nino, La Nina, and we see what's going on currently, and we also have a look at some models to see what we're expecting to occur in the coming months. So that's what we're going to do for today's second video. Just say that the weekend forecast was released earlier on today. The video is on the homepage, and you can find the written version via the buttons at the top of the page. It's going to be a very warm and hot and really dry week coming up, so have a look at that and see what you think. A bit of a classic weekend forecast for summer 2018 coming up, or released now at Gav's Weather Vids. So we'll get on with your ENSO update. We're going to begin by having a look at the cold and warm episodes by season chart from CPC and from NOAA too. So this is depicting every year's ENSO event going back to 1950 on a tri-monthly basis. So the year of 1950 starts with a cold event, with a La Nina taking place in the actual Pacific Ocean for the first months, and then that in the second half of the year reverted back to ENSO neutral. And then we have a look at 51 and 52. So we start off at ENSO neutral in 1951, but through the course of the year we actually go into a warm event. We actually go into an El Nino event. That El Nino lasts into just at the very start of 1952 before it reverts back again to ENSO neutral. So the black numbers, they are ENSO neutral conditions. The blue numbers, cold events, La Nina, and the red numbers are warm events, which of course is El Nino. Let's scroll down to the current year that we're interested in, which of course is 2018. So we started 2018 with a weak La Nina taking place. So we have that weak La Nina going on just there and through the final months of 2017 as well. The latest number for the tri-monthly period of March, April, May, so for the spring, actually ends the cold event, actually ends the La Nina. So you notice that the number has gone from blue to black there, telling us that we have returned back to ENSO neutral. To get these events, be they El Nino or La Nina, to get them designated formally, you have to meet some quite strict criteria. So you have to go, for La Nina, you have to go to half a degree or more below average, 0.5 degrees or more below average over 5 tri-monthly periods. So for El Nino it's the same, but of course it's on the warm side. So for El Nino you have to go half degree or more above average, again over 5 tri-monthly periods. So we did get our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tri-monthly periods that met that required temperature threshold of half a degree below average, and so that's why we formally have the La Nina designated. That continued into February, March, April tri-monthly period as well. So 6 full tri-monthly periods of La Nina condition, but this number minus 0.4, so that's under half a degree below average. So that takes us out of La Nina territory and back to ENSO neutral, albeit on the cold side. Of course, now we're waiting to see where we're going to go as we fill in the rest of these numbers in the boxes that will be appearing over the rest of this year. So this is how the sea surface temperature anomalies were looking. So this is how they were looking last week, actually, on the 14th of June. So I've got the wrong chart up there. I've got to change that over. So what I'm going to do is very quickly, and hope nobody notices, I'm going to pause the video and get the correct chart up for May, when we last did the ENSO update. So I'll see you back in around 2 seconds' time. Alright, we're back. Just check to make sure that we're recording. Okay, yes we are. So, hopefully nobody noticed that little interruption. This is the correct chart that I wanted to show you. This is the sea surface temperature anomaly map from NOAA from when we did the last ENSO update back in May. So, the region we're interested in, of course, is the Pacific Ocean. This region just here from Indonesia and over to Peru. So that is the equatorial Pacific Ocean. The equator, of course, is this line. Whoops, I haven't got a straight line there, so let's get rid of that. And the equator is this line just here. Let's see how straight I can draw it. It's actually much harder to draw a completely straight line than you think, but I think I'm doing okay there. So we've got a completely straight line telling you where the equator of the Earth is on this chart. And of course the equatorial Pacific Ocean, this is the Pacific just here, this huge mass of water just there. The equatorial Pacific Ocean is from Peru over here to Indonesia over here. So last month we were seeing the decline of La Nina. These blue colours you see, they are colder than average sea surface temperature anomalies. We see them declining through the equatorial Pacific Ocean, gradually inching our way back to ENSO neutral, and we was at ENSO neutral condition when we did last month's ENSO update. This is how things are looking very latest for June, up to June 21st, actually. And we continue to see the decline of the La Nina signature. Actually, you have got some warmer than average sea surface temperature anomalies starting to appear here in the eastern part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. The only thing I'd say, though, is that whilst, and that could be the very beginnings, a precursor to an El Nino event, but actually the overall sort of southern ocean doesn't look all that conducive to me to an El Nino. So we've got a lot of colder than average sea surface temperature anomalies here through this part of the tropical Pacific. That's Chile, of course, just there. So off the Chilean coast, we've got a lot of colder than average sea surface temperature anomalies there. And when you get the cold waters massing there, it will be quite unusual with that to go into an El Nino event. Now, I'm going to show you some models in a moment, and they're all going for a weak El Nino, but that does look a little bit dubious to me with all that much colder than average sea surface temperature anomalies in that part of the Pacific Ocean, Southern Pacific Ocean. I'm a little bit dubious, but we can only go by what the modelling is showing and what the anomaly maps are showing. We are beginning to see some warmer than average sea surface temperature anomalies appearing here in the eastern quarter of the equatorial Pacific Ocean at depth, so way down in underneath the surface of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. So this is kind of like the surface of the equatorial Pacific just there. And then we've got the depths of the Pacific Ocean just here going down to 300 meters, very, very long way down. At its lowest. We can see I've got a lot of warm water actually underneath the surface of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. So this is from the CPC, NCEP and NOAA analysis for ENSO analysis PDF. You can find the link to this. It's fascinating stuff because it gets updated every week. You can find the link to this on the links page at Gavsworth's. So this is the subsurface temperature anomaly map, the very latest, up to the 12th of June. And you can see there is a lot of warm water at depth, at around 50 to 150 meters. That's where the warmest of the water is, where we have got some right down, very low down as well there. But it's this area just here that isn't tremendously deep. It's kind of like 50 to 150 meters down. And in that area, we have got quite a lot of warmer than average subsurface temperature anomalies. So it does look as though underneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean, we have got potentially a little bit of an El Nino, a little bit of a warm event type signature. What's the SOI doing? So this is an index that's reflecting the state of the atmosphere in the southern Pacific Ocean, looking at the pressures between Darwin in Australia and Tahiti in the Southern Ocean. So when the SOI is in its negative phase, we've got minus numbers, then in that phase, the atmospheric setup is conducive to La Nina, to a cold event. But when the SOI is showing positivity, then that is conducive to a warm event, to an El Nino type event. So we'll begin here on the 1st of June. this date just here, we can see that the SOI on the 1st of June was actually weakly positive. So still kind of like close to neutral, really, but maybe a little bit on the El Nino, on the La Nina, I should say, side. So still a little bit towards La Nina, but only very weakly. More or less, that sort of number would be kind of like ENSO neutral. However, by the 3rd of June, we've actually gone really quite negative. We've gone down to minus 15.04, and that's telling us that the SOI, or through the SOI, telling us that the atmospheric setup then, on the 3rd of June, was much more conducive to what you'd expect in a warm event, in an El Nino. So if we scroll up to the latest numbers, let's come up here, we see that we do get some very negative numbers indeed. On the 11th of June, we go down to minus 24, and on the 12th of June, we go down to minus 32. Really extreme negativity of the SOI. That is the atmosphere strongly into an El Nino type setup. It eases back a little bit on the 13th, 14th and 15th, but still in negative territory. But then we come up here and we go back to some very negative numbers once again. So on the 17th, we go down to minus 21, and on the 18th, we go down to minus 18. It does look as though gradually as we're going along, the SOI is becoming more negative, telling us that the atmosphere is beginning to ease into an El Nino type setup. And if the atmosphere does get itself into an El Nino type setup, then because we've got so much warmer than average subsurface temperature anomalies at depth in the equatorial Pacific Ocean waiting to upwell to the surface, if the atmosphere does go into a conducive El Nino state, we will find that the atmosphere and the ocean couples up and is able to produce an El Nino event. So we're probably reasonably close to going into at least a very weak warm event by the end of the summer. But we do need to see via the SOI, the atmosphere, going into a genuine sort of El Nino type state. If we start to get positive and negative numbers trading with one another, then that will be kind of like the atmosphere fighting against itself a bit, and that will keep those warmer than average subsurface temperature anomalies underneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean. Let's see what the models are predicting. So this is CFS V2 region 3.4 forecast. I'll just talk you through the regions again. Let's go to this map. So region 3.4 or 3 and 4 is that part, central part essentially, of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. Regions 1 and 2 is further over towards the eastern part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. So in that sort of area just there. Let's go back to CFS V2, and this is for region 3.4, so the central equatorial Pacific Ocean essentially. This is the forecast for region 3.4. And we can see the temperature anomalies on the side, dates along the bottom through monthly type periods. So this is where we're starting off at. Very close to ENSO neutral, or within ENSO neutral, but very close now to being in a slight sort of El Nino type territory. The black dash line is the ensemble mean. It's a trend line of the ensemble, and you see it's lifting up. So by the time we get through to October, we are in a weak El Nino setup. And then we flatline at that level through to the end of the year, maybe signs of a bit of a drop-off starting to take place as we go through to spring of 2019. So CFS V2 is going for a weak El Nino to start this summer and to be in place by the autumn. It's also a Modoki El Nino, which is a central-based El Nino, because this is region 1 and 2 over towards the eastern portion of the equatorial Pacific. You see the black dash line, although it does lift up a little bit, is much lower here than it is for 3.4. It is lower. So that's telling us that it's cooler in the eastern part of the equatorial Pacific and warmer in the central part of the equatorial Pacific, which would be a Modoki or a central-based El Nino, which can have different effects compared to a regular El Nino, which is normally where the eastern part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean is at the very warmest. ECWF is also going for a El Nino event as well, albeit quite weakly. So again, we've got the dates on the bottom of the chart, temperature anomalies along the side. That's 2 degrees above average just there. That's 1 degree above average just there, and that is average. It's ENSO neutral. just there. So our range from the warmest to the coolest members of the ECMGF Ensemble Plume is from there through to there. So we have 1 or 2 ensemble members down here, but actually keeping us in ENSO neutral conditions, and we have 1 or 2 ensemble members that are actually going into super El Nino territory. That's when you get to 2 degrees above average, that's kind of like a super Nino. They are on the outlier side of the scale, though. The broad thrust of the ensemble is in that sort of zone, which is around 1 degree above average, so very close to where the CFS is actually by the time we get through to the autumn. Looking at a week to borderline, potentially moderate El Nino event, warm event. And then finally, we've got the Jamstec, and that also is going for a weak El Nino to develop through the rest of this year. So these are our monthly dates on the bottom, temperature anomalies are along the side. You see where we're starting off at right now. It's kind of like in that sort of zone. So again, around ENSO neutral, just borderlining towards very weak El Nino condition. On the ensemble mean, the red line is lifting up, so it's going above 1 degree above average. That is taking us into weak El Nino type territory, and so therefore we can say that all 3 of our long range models at the moment are going for weak El Nino condition. Again, there is a broad range within the ensemble plume. We've got that ensemble member just there, which is keep things at ENSO neutral, on the cool side of ENSO neutral. And then we've got these ensemble members just here, these 2, that are actually going to 2 degrees or more above average. So those kind of like getting towards super Nino type territory, but they are the outlier ensemble members. Most ensemble members are in that zone, which again is weak El Nino conditions. So if you take the modelling at face value, and of course we had this last year, it looks like we're going into an El Nino through the second half of this year. At this point last year, we was expecting to go into an El Nino, and it failed. We never went into an El Nino. Actually, we reverted back, very surprisingly and unexpectedly, to La Nina by the end of 2017. So we're going to have another go at it. I think we're going to have another go at getting a weak El Nino together. We'll be able to put it off this time. It looks like the modelling wants to go in that direction, most definitely, but I'm still a little bit dubious due to those colder than average sea surface temperature anomalies that we see off the coast of Chile. When you've got that much colder than average sea surface temperature anomalies going on there, it's just not one of the things that tends to coincide with an El Nino event. So a little bit dubious from that perspective, but we'll wait and see. We're past the spring predictability barrier now, so the model should have a reasonably firm idea where things are going. We are seeing the SOI trending more negative, so that again is telling us that the axis is trying to get into an El Nino type setup. I've got a lot of warm water underneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean as well. So it looks like the chance is that we are going to go into an El Nino event. There's quite a high chance of that. But just 1 or 2 things are still back of my mind, possibly pointing me against that. We'll certainly see how this develops over the next month or 2. If the modelling is right, we'll be there by August. So if we're going to have an El Nino, we'll know pretty much by August whether that's going to come off. Right, don't forget to check out the weekend forecast videos on the homepage. There's a written version, and you get to different buttons at the top of the page. Tomorrow we're going to have some autumn analogues. We're going to do Gazzo's Sunday roundup as well, so plenty of updates coming up tomorrow. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching.